Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm Ryan Pennant from Keyware and I'll be presenting Paribus 365, our solution for improving your data quality and increasing the user experience in Microsoft Dynamics 365 customer engagement. Now, I'm going to be taking you through a demonstration of the solution, and if you have any questions, please feel free to use the questions area here and go to webinar. The staff member is on hand to answer any questions during the presentation, and I will set aside some time at the end as well. Now, the presentation should last just about 30 minutes, so we'll get you back to your day here quickly. Also, there will be a recording of the webinar made available for your convenience. Sound good? All right, let's get started. So before we actually get into the product here, I want to give you a little bit of background on Keyware. So we have over 25 years of experience as a CRM partner, both implementing and supporting different CRM systems along the way. We've been working with Microsoft Dynamics for about 12 of those years. Now, keep in mind too that being a CRM implementation partner for 2 decades, we really understand the needs of CRM users. And so we bring this experience to our products. And it really allows us to address many of the issues that CRM users experience day to day. And with this experience, we have developed complementary products that are sold worldwide. Obviously, today you're going to see Paribus 365. But we also have a telephony integration to Dynamics called IntelliCTI, which will connect your phone system to CRM, okay? And on that note, enough about us, let's discuss why Paribus 365 is so important to your CRM system. Now, I really want to start by discussing the negative impact of having duplicates has on your system, right? So for example, duplicate marketing material, right? CRM systems can have thousands, even tens of thousands of duplicate records. Now, we've seen it all. Now, imagine the additional costs you might incur sending emails or printing and sending postcards, flyers, catalogs, and multiply that by the number of marketing campaigns you guys might be running per year, right? It can add up astronomically, right? Now, the other cost, if you will, is a lack of single customer view when you have all these duplicates, right? Both to the user and the customer, it can really have a negative impact, right? Now, imagine, for example, a customer, Bob Smith, and he calls me to confirm his order information, perhaps, right? So I go searching in CRM, and I'm presented with the following. I think we've all probably seen something like this, right? So how do I effectively help him without going through each of these records and review that history? It's really frustrating for me and as well for Mr. Smith. And it's really inefficient, right? So, and another issue with something like this is, you have these data regulations that have come into effect the last few years. Europe's GDPR and California's CPPA, for example. And each of these has a requirement that allows your contacts to have the right to be forgotten. And that's really tough to do when I've got multiple Bob Smiths and even with variation spelling. So I might delete one and find out that there's still others in the system, right? So just not a good thing. And of course, there's the negative impact that on your brand, right? So sending duplicate emails out equates to basically spamming, right? Your customers and your prospects. And trust me, you're not going to be very popular after that. And of course, consider the inefficiency and total lack of productivity associated with the duplicates, right? Needlessly searching through duplicates is just a huge time waster and really lowers the user's confidence in the system. And of course, hey, data is the lifeblood of your system, and you're running reports off of that. And off of those reports, you are making decisions, right? But are you making the correct decisions? So obviously, they could have a huge negative impact on the bottom line, all right? And this is really where Paribus 365 can help. Now, there are 2 parts of Paribus 365, all right? First, there's search and detect. Now, this seamlessly integrates several tools into the user interface into Dynamics, right? Which really enhances the experience for the users and really makes them more efficient, right? So it also creates what we call a duplicate data firewall, right? So it will prevent the duplicates as well as making users much more efficient. Now, some of these enhancements include things like duplicate detection and prevention. We improved the lead management area as well. We actually have faster account and contact creation, even saving time in terms of whether you have to do that at all, and also powerful global search capabilities as well, okay? And then there is the data cleansing portion of Paribus 365. Now, this is a back-end tool, so there's no front-facing UI. It really allows that your admins and your data stewards to clean up the data in bulk in the back, okay? All right, now the true power of Paribus 365 is in fact its match engine, which really allows users to perform fuzzy matches based on things like phonetics, right? So whether you've got photo with spell with an F or a PH, or Cheryl with a CH or an SH, even things like misspellings can be captured because of the phonetics. We also have synonyms and abbreviations, right? The Williams, Bills, that type of thing. International Business Machines, IBM, I period, B period, M period, those types of things, right? Sequence variations, whether it's Florida Uni or Uni of Florida, Paribus will capture those. And data segmentation, right? Whether they're spaces, hyphens, that type of stuff, Paribus will be able to find those potential matches, okay? So let's take a look at how all this works. And we're gonna start actually with search and detect. Now, we've designed search and detect to tackle some of the limitations that are found in Dynamics, which negatively impacts the user's experience, but also, of course, lends to creating duplicates. Now, I can't stress this enough, right? It's really an efficiency tool first and a duplicate management second, which makes users want to use it and therefore, of course, prevents additional duplicates from being created. Just think increase in user adoption, which is always, of course, a challenge. Now, let's discuss some of the aforementioned limitations within Dynamics that makes users less productive and lends to creating those duplicates. Now, first off, the general functionality in Dynamics is weak, okay? The general search, global search, even though it's been improved, still has a lot of problems. For one, the results, way too busy, right? Way too many things are coming back. And unfortunately, its ability to filter is extremely weak. And it still misses a lot of records, even though, again, gotten better in the past. But things like acronyms and abbreviations, it just doesn't handle very well at all. Then there's the lookup functionality, which, as many of you may already know, lacks any fuzziness at all. And what's worse, actually, is not only can it not find records based on any fuzziness, it actually encourages the creation of duplicates, right? You know, saying, hey, no records were found. Here's a real easy way to add that contact, right? And even if there were matches, the information that's presented in a lookup is extremely limited. So you don't really gain much information. Next is the duplicate detection. Now, as we all know, that little pop-up pops up and says, hey, duplicate records are found. The problem with that, though, is it only works after the data has been entered into the record. So for example, I add a new contact, I add all the information, spend a good minute filling out the field, and then it pops up. That's a total waste of my time, right? And as we all know, a lot of people just ignore the thing after a while. It keeps popping up after I go to enter record, and so they just ignore it and enter the duplicate anyways. So duplicate detection out of the box, not a great experience. And then the lead management gives no inherent visibility of existing records. Now, the newer version will show you some perhaps matching leads. The real problem is when somebody comes in off my website, I want to know, are they already a customer? So we will actually show you existing accounts and contacts. Dynamics does not show that, right? And finally, users unknowingly create duplicate records all the time. Why is that? Well, the big reason, of course, users only create records when they cannot find what they're looking for. And this is really where Paribus Search and Detect can really help that, okay? All right, so I'm gonna take you through a quick tour then of Search and Detect here, and then we'll come back to the slideshow and continue on with data cleansing. Now, as I mentioned before, we actually inject several tools into the user interface here in Dynamics, okay? The first one being a global fuzzy search tool. So not all users, of course, will look before they leap, if you will, look for the record before they create the record, but in this case, I'll do that. So for example, let's say I met a guy last week named Rob Dixon at a user group, and I just wanna go ahead and look him up, add some notes to the account, maybe even do a follow-up, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and type in Rob Dixon. And when I do that, you can see down below here that Paribus is actually looking across multiple entities, okay? And I can see I've got 14 contacts and 9 leads, all right? So that's great. I've got all my information about all the possible Bob Dixons that are in the system. If I click on the contacts, for example, you can see here that all of these variations on Rob Dixon are basically Rob Dixon of some form or fashion. If I were to use the out-of-the-box relevant search up here, the global search, it actually would show me all the Robs as well as all the Dixons and then all the Rob Dixons. So it would return a lot more data that really is useless to me, right? It just makes it harder to find things. Now, as you can see here, I still have quite a bit of data. So what I really want to do is pare this down. And so the cool thing is these additional fields here that Paribus provides really allow you to filter that data. The more you feed it, the more it will filter it down. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and add in first networks, for example. And when I do that, and then of course I can't type today, but when I do that, it will not only look across contacts, but now because I've added the account, you can see now that it will bring in the account as well as any account leads, if you will. Okay, so additional entities will be found. Now, what you see more importantly here, though, is because I've added Rob Dixon at First Networks as well, it has pared down the results from 14 to 5 now. And of course, I'm only showing those Rob Dixons that have something to do with First Networks. And you can also see that the information that's coming back, I've got things like job title, address, location. I can even configure this to bring in additional information, even custom fields if needed from your own system. Okay, but from this, I can see very nicely that, you know, I potentially have a Rob Dixon I'm looking for here out of Tampa, Florida. Now you can see here on the right, we have what we call action buttons here. And so if I'm absolutely sure this is the correct guy, I can just hit go to, it'll leave my search and it'll go to that record. Now, if I'm still not sure, because obviously I have some other possibilities here, there's a review button. By clicking on the review button, it actually will open up a separate window here to that record. But the cool thing is it actually keeps my search results here in the background. So if this wasn't the guy, I can just close this and go back and continue on. Of course, I can update the record here while I'm on it in the review screen if I want as well. This is just a normal form here in CRM. All right. All right. Let's go ahead and close this out. Now, so that's searching just your standard searches. Wanted to also point out some additional areas that perhaps the out-of-the-box experience will fall down on. So for example, let's say I put in an acronym like USC. Now that stands for the University of Southern California. And you can see that I in fact do get one CRM account here. And so I do in fact have that. That's great. Also, I can type in things like Haagen-Dazs, and yes, I know it's misspelled, but it will find 3 different iterations of the spelling on Haagen-Dazs, including the correct one here. If I do the same thing here in the global search, so in this case, I'm going to type in Haagen-Dazs the same way. It does find one, but you can see it only finds one. What happened to the other 2? So again, this is a good example of I didn't find what I was looking for. I might add the additional record. This could happen, of course, with a contact as well, right? So that's a problem. Also, remember USC. If I type in USC, I get no results, okay? So that's a big problem as well. All right, so the out-of-the-box global search doesn't work very well versus the Paribus search, as you can see, allows me to filter things down. It finds all the records. It brings things down very nicely in different silos as I need them, okay? Now, let's talk about what happens when, let's say I wasn't searching for the record. Maybe I just wanted to go ahead and add the record, okay? So obviously I'm going to go to my contacts here, click on new, and out of the box, of course, we talked about this before here. You know, if I'm going to go add a record, I have to fill out any of my required fields, including my address. So adding data is never very fun, as we all know, right? It takes time. This could take me a good minute or 2 to complete this record, depending on how many required fields my company makes me fill out first, right? And of course, at the point where you click save, what would happen? That duplicate detection would pop up and say, hey, it's already here. And that's very frustrating because, like I said, it's wasting my time. I already spent all this time filling this form out. Wouldn't it be nice if I knew before I filled the form out if the person already was here? And that's exactly what Paribus does. When you click on new, it doesn't take you to the summary tab. It actually takes you to the Paribus duplicate prevention tab, okay? Where we've got some search fields here that says, hey, Mr. User, give us a little information. We'll find the record if it does exist before you have to complete the entire summary tab. So in this case, I'm gonna look for a Louis Balbo, okay, and see if he's in here. Now up here at the upper left, you can see I found one possible contact. If I click on that, it'll show that, hey, I've got a variation on Louis Balbo. I've got a Lou Balbo from Abbott Limited out of Chicago. Now, if this is the guy, I'm happy because all I have to do is hit the go to button. It'll go to that contact and I'm done. I do not have to spend time adding Louis Balbo to the system, right? It's already here. I found it, no problem. Of course, I can click on review like you saw before just to verify if this is the guy or not, but I have enough information here to determine that because I know my guy works for First Networks, okay? And so this guy works for Abbott Limited. So I need to continue adding this record. Okay, that's fine. But you notice when I go back to the summary tab that the information I put into Paribus automatically shows here. So we're taking that information that was put into the search fields and automatically moving it here to save the user any additional keystrokes. That's great, right? So now I can continue on my day. Now, what if, for example, he in fact was not in the system, but his account was, okay? So in this case, I'm gonna go back to that search area and I'm gonna type in First Networks, okay? So I'm gonna really tighten the search, if you will. In this case, it shows no contacts work that are called Lou Balbo or any type of Lou Balbo for First Networks, right? But I do have some possible matches on First Networks, and I can see here. So this is a case where maybe Lou Balbo works for an existing account or customer that I have, right? And so in this case, I want to make sure I associate. I'm going to go ahead and continue adding Louis Balbo to the system, but I want to associate him with the correct account in my system because I don't want to add the account as well, right? So in this case, I can look and see, oh yeah, I remember he was from First Networks here out of Los Angeles on Wilshire. I can click on an associate button, and now, of course, it backfills the correct account, and I can continue adding it. So again, Paribus now prevents me from adding any duplicates that were already there. But more importantly, as a user, I will gravitate this because it saves me a ton of time of data entry, okay? All right, so that's adding contacts. By the way, this works the same with accounts and of course leads as well, all right? So let's talk about lookup management. So I'm gonna use an opportunity because like, cases, opportunities, other records in the system perhaps that you guys maybe have customized, they are linked back to existing contacts and accounts, right? So when I go ahead and add a new opportunity here, the first thing I'm going to need to do then is indicate, well, what's the contact that I have that I'm looking for? So in this case, I will go ahead and use our old friend Rob Dixon. And I can see I've got Rob Dixon, and you can see immediately there is no fuzziness at all. We know there's 14 Rob Dixons in the system, but yet CRM is saying no records are found, create a new record, and it gives me a nice handy link to create the 15th Rob Dixon, right? I don't want to do that. I don't want to waste the time, and I certainly don't want to create the 15th Rob Dixon, right? My IT manager not going to be real happy, nor is my boss. So obviously that's not good, even in the case where maybe there is a match. So in this case, I know there are some First Networks in the system, okay? And so there are 2 in the system, great. The problem is I don't know which one is which, and if I expand this, the information that is brought back on one of these hits, not enough for me to make a decision. So even this is a 50-50 proposition. So the lookups, no fuzziness and limited information that you do get out of them as well. Contrast to what we bring to you with Search and Detect. Now, when I click on new opportunity, like in contact, what actually happens is it doesn't bring me to the summary tab, it brings me to the Paribus entity lookup, where again, I have some search fields. So as you would expect, I can type in Bob Dixon here, or Rob Dixon, if you will, and I can type in First Networks. And of course, it will now show me those 5 contacts and 6 accounts. So now when I go in here, I can go, okay, which is the correct Bob Dixon I'm looking for? Perhaps it's this Bobby Dixon here. Again, I can click on associate, kind of like you saw there on the account, on the contact. And when I do that, it will backfill the correct Bob Dixon from the correct account, and I can continue adding my opportunity. And I won't be adding any duplicates, right? And I'm saving myself time. Awesome, right? So that's the lookup management that we bring into Dynamics with Search and Detect. Now I'm going to actually go into this Bobby Dixon record to show you the duplicate detection when you're on a record. Now we happen to be on a contact here, but this works the same for accounts and, as you'll see here shortly, leads as well. So in this case, I'm on a record and Paribus is working here in the background showing I got 4 possible duplicates. So if I click on this, it'll show me, well, okay, maybe I'm not updating the correct record, right? I don't want to do that. That's going to make my data bad and going to waste somebody's time down the road when they go to look for this information I'm updating here. So it's really critical I'm engaged with the correct record. So I can look here to see, well, what other contacts do we have? We have a Bob Dixon, head of marketing in First Networks. If this is the guy, I can hit the go to and move to that record and update that record. Of course, I can review again if I need to. as well. But the main thing here is I can see, am I engaged with the correct record? And if not, I can go ahead and pivot and move on to that. All right, so that's duplicate detection when you're on a record. And by the way, this can be plumbed to other records, even custom records that you might have in your system. All right. Okay, let's talk about then leads. Now, in my system, we call them inquiries, so just read that as leads, if you will. In lead management, it's so critical to know that you're engaged with the correct record and that you're associating it with the correct record when it's all said and done, right? So, for example, I've got some leads here. I'm going to jump into one here. This good old Robbie Dixon here is looking for IntelliCTI licenses. The main thing I want to know here, this guy's hit my website, right? He's hit my website, and I want to know, is he a new prospect? Or is he in fact an existing customer? And maybe he's just downloading some information, support material, and what have you. I certainly don't want to reach out to him if he's been a long-time customer of mine, right? Spent a lot of money with us, and act like we don't know who he is. And hey, would you like to buy our stuff? And he'd be like, man, I've been your customer for years. You don't know that already? So it's critical we have this information when we're looking at a lead. And again, the Paribus lead qualification area is going to show me if he's already in the system as leads, if more importantly, he's a contact, AKA a customer, or maybe he's not in the system, but his account is. Again, they may be a long-standing customer of ours. So having this information at your fingertips is vital. Now, great, I can see that he's got some leads in here. Maybe he's hit our website a couple different times, downloaded some information, maybe even used a different email address. We can actually match on name, address, email, all kinds of stuff. Okay, even custom fields, all right? But most importantly, I want to know, is he existing contact? And if he is, let's say I look at this and I see, well, actually, he's actually Bob Dixon, marketing manager from First Networks out of Los Angeles. I have the associate button here. And the important thing here is when I associate on a lead, it will backfill the existing contact and account information. The nice thing about this is when I go ahead and qualify this, it's not going to create the account and contact again because I associated it, because it now knows, oh, this is already an existing customer of mine. It won't create that duplicate account and contact, which is paramount, right? Plus, I don't have to create anything as well. So it's just having that information at your fingertips on the lead management is so critical to preventing duplicates from the system. And leads is probably the biggest area where duplicates are coming into the system as well. All right, so that's Paribus Search and Detect. Let's go ahead now, switch back to the slideshow and move on with data cleansing. Now, Paribus data cleansing is, its sole purpose is really to identify and merge duplicates in bulk, okay? So where Search and Detect is going to prevent and make the users more efficient, if you will, this is going to clean all those duplicates you have in the system, okay? Now, one thing sorry, I got lost on the slide I was on. All right, so from a high level, let's talk about what this does, right? First off, it will identify duplicates in batch. Whether you've got hundreds or thousands, it doesn't make any difference, okay? It also merges in bulk as well and consolidates a record, right? And you do get unlimited match and merge capabilities, so we don't dink you for how many you're doing. And the cool thing too is, though it's very configurable from a matching standpoint, in terms of the merging, you can actually customize what gets done or what happens at the time of process. Okay, so there's an SDK for it. You guys, if you have the skill sets in-house, you can development skill sets, you can do it, or you can have us do it. And by the way, the out-of-the-box matching can be connected to other data sources. So if you want to find duplicates in, let's say, an ERP system, as long as we can connect to it, you're good to go. And the setup for the on-premise version is 20 minutes. You can also choose a cloud-hosted version, and it's like a 5-minute configuration, and you're off to the races. All right. Now, let's review the process of cleansing data. Now, in the interest of time, I'm only going to be reviewing the process and rather than performing a live demo. If you guys do want to see a live demo, please reach out to us, and we'll be glad to give you a personal tour and discuss your specific needs, even set up a free trial for you. Now, I'd like to frame the data cleansing process as a journey, where we start with lots of duplicates here on the left, and our goal is to move them and finally get here to the right-hand side and enjoy basically clean data, right? Now, the first step in the journey is to, of course, identify those duplicates, right? Which, again, is a bulk step. So I might be able to identify hundreds or thousands at a time. And next, of course, you'll be able to review those potential duplicates and approve or decline the results. And finally, there is the merge and consolidation step. Now, this will actually create a more complete record, restoring that single customer view, and of course, remove or deactivate any of those identified duplicates from the system. So let's explore each of these in more detail, starting with the identification. Now, when the power user or system admin runs what we call a match session, Paribus will return those results it finds as potential duplicates based on fuzzy rules applied in groups of 2 or more. For example, as seen here, I've got actually a group of 3 Bill Dixons, okay? Now, we can identify these, in this case, we probably added some fuzziness, right? That's great. We can actually match on multiple fields, okay? So we generally use the account, contact, or lead name as the primary field, but you can actually match on multiple things, even custom fields. And the fuzziness can be adjusted on any of these fields, and you can also segment or filter that data into silos. And this is really helpful if you have large databases, right? We can segment, like for example, like postal code or region, or maybe the record type, really whatever meets your needs, what works for you guys. And the nice thing too is you can actually export the data out to the data owners for their feedback before you actually throw the switch. And we actually provide some really nice quick start templates to really help you find those duplicates across your accounts, contacts, and leads. So that's the identification process. Let's move to the next step, which is the review, okay? Now, during the review, there are 2 things that need to be decided. First, is it truly a duplicate? And then second, which is the winning record? Now, to decide, you can compare records side by side, okay? Now, in this case, we're gonna run a match at, let's say, 90% similarity. So I'm not gonna have exact matches. So I can see I've got a Bill Dixon and a Will Dixon. One's from First National Bank of Arizona, and the other's from Arizona First National Bank. But they definitely look like duplicates, right? I can also decide which is the primary winning record and either make that decision during the review, or I can programmatically do it as well, so it's an automated process. And if I agree that these are duplicates, and these definitely look like duplicates, I go ahead and approve it, and then I'm ready to go ahead, and when I run the merge tool, they'll be merged, all right? Now, in this case, of course, I am running a matching at 90%. So for this next example here, I've got 2 Cheryl Smiths, all right, great. But if you look a little bit closer, the spellings are different quite a bit, and the company they work for, Cheryl Smith on the left works for IBM, and the one on the right, International Building Management. So clearly, though they're similar, they're definitely not duplicates. And that's what will happen if you do run, let's say, 90% matching. That's fine, you're gonna get false positives. But the main thing is you can exclude these things actually from the merge as well. Now, from a best practice, I would always say run it at 100%. Find the low-hanging fruit, the exact matches. That will make the review process much faster, way easier, and then you can then open things up as we're doing here. And then the nice thing too is during the review screen, you're actually able, that information as you see here in red, whatever data you want to see when you're comparing these records side by side is completely configurable. So whatever makes sense for you and your company, remove stuff that doesn't make sense, bring in custom fields and all that to make it, again, even easier. All right. Okay. Once we've approved everything, we're ready to move to the next step, which of course is the final step in our journey, and that's merge and consolidate. All right. So, for example, I can be running that same 90% search here. I can get some Bill Dixons, right? Keep in mind that this is a bulk merge. Okay. So whether I've got 3 groups like this or 500. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be able to merge them all with one quick click, if you will. All right. Now, looking at the following example for Bill Dixon, any child records will be realigned to the winning record, even custom entities. Now, in this case, I've got activities and orders. They will all be realigned and moved over to the surviving record. Any missing data or null values in the surviving record will be populated by data found in the duplicates if it exists there as well. Okay, and that ultimately is consolidating and making a better record, right? So in this case, we're making what we call the new golden record, right? A combination of all these duplicates and the surviving record to make that more complete record, all right? And of course, more importantly, it's going to restore that single customer view, right? And again, you can customize the rules to make it meet your needs as well, all right? So that's the data cleansing process in a nutshell. Here are some key takeaways as we finish things up. Again, you have the ability to merge hundreds, if not thousands, of records at one time. The Mac sessions can actually be saved as templates and run over and over again to keep your system free of duplicates. It, of course, restores that single customer view. We're going to remove all those duplicates as well. And obviously, we're going to go from Bob Smith, multiple Bob Smiths, right, to one Bob Smith, making, of course, your users a heck of a lot more efficient and happy, right? And of course, your customers. Mr. Smith's not going to be angry that you're swimming through multiple records to find his latest, invoice and order. And obviously, we're going to reduce costs. That includes labor costs, material costs, and obviously the cost of your reputation. And of course, we're going to restore your reports and make them accurate again. So your decisions are going to be hopefully accurate going forward as well, right? Which has an impact on that bottom line. So Paribus will make users, management, and customers hopefully a whole lot happier. All right, so that wraps up the presentation. You can get more information or request a free trial from your Microsoft partner or from us at Keyware, and you can visit our website. Just search Paribus 365 or reach out to us via Twitter or LinkedIn at Paribus 365. And of course, we have my details here below. Now, something to be aware of, by the way, in addition to free 30-day trials of Paribus, we are now offering a free data audit where we will use Paribus data cleansing to determine the number of duplicates you have in your system, something hopefully you may find very useful. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask them now in the questions pane if you haven't already. Otherwise, I want to thank you all for your time today and hope you guys have a great rest of your day.